everyone. On behalf of Diverse Ed Media, I would like to welcome each one of you today to our very special session on mental and emotional health of students. We all know that the present situation is very difficult for students and even adults to cope up with. We are all having different kind of stress. We are all having different kind of issues, concerns, which is keeping a little difficult for all of us to be able to understand and to manage ourselves and to be more focused. So today we are going to discuss on this very important topic, which is mental and emotional health of students. We have a very special guest who has joined us from Mumbai, and I would like to introduce our guests for today. Ms. Gayatri Aptekar. Welcome, Gayatri
Hello.
ji, to our online session today. Ms. Gayatri wears many hats. She is a mom, she is a writer, a mindfulness practitioner, parent coach, and a therapist. But above all, she is also a storyteller. She is a master practitioner of NLP, cognitive therapy, mental space psychology, and a Vipassana meditator. Her mission is to empower children, adults, families, and to give them the tools to live a courageous, creative, fulfilling, and a resilient life. Thank you once again to join us. Thank you. I would like to
Thank you.
introduce our special guest for today, Ms. Swathi Aggarwal, who is the co-founder of Prosper Theories. Welcome, Swathi ji. Prosper Theories is one of the leading assessment and career counseling company dealing with schools, HEIs, corporates, and individuals. Thank you once again, Swathi ji, for joining us. So, talking about the present situation, Gayatri ji, I would, we are all facing a situation which was really unexpected, and a lot of people, a very common slang these days is that it's a once in a lifetime situation, and maybe we are seeing it, we may not see it in future, and I hope we do not. And what I would want you to just share your views and your perspective with the present situation. Just a small input from your end.
So, if you ask me, then yes, as you said, we were not prepared for this, and this is something that has happened out of the blue, and we really don't know how to handle this. I think we have got back to our survival instinct, the flight or fight mode that has become more intense as of now. And this has taught us that we all are connected because we all are facing the same challenge. Let it be students, let it be adults, let it be children, we all are facing the same challenge because the uncertainty is too much and we really don't know what is going to happen. There are a lot of thoughts. How is the economy going to bounce back, and the job opportunities, especially for children, especially for students who are in the college right now. There is a lot of thought process going on in their mind as to how the job environment is going to unfold in the coming few months. And I think in all the even me and even everybody around is thinking about the uncertainty of how things are going to unfold. That is the main challenge as of now. People who are in businesses, even they are thinking how to go back to normal and when is it going to go back to normal. And again, this is not going to be any normal, it's going to be a new normal. However, how I also see this situation is this is also a good time for us to reflect on our choices and think about the decisions that we may take in the future, think about it differently, and maybe prepare ourselves for the upcoming months. I think that is one thing this particular phase is actually especially teaching me. I am preparing for the future that's going to unfold. Though it is uncertain, I'm actually sitting and planning as to how I'm going to take my business ahead. How am I going to talk about mental and emotional health and talk about all these things in the future? So that's what I am personally doing. And I think it is a good time for us to reflect on our choices, reflect on the life that we have lived so far.
Right. So, coming straight to the topic, maybe, you can give us a kind of an overview or your complete input on the mental and emotional health of students with respect to the present situation, also in the generic scenario. So, if you would want to,
Yeah.
take us
So
through that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So it's been a month. I think March 15th is when I cancelled all my workshops related to schools, related to colleges. And from 16th March, I started taking online free consultation calls. And I had not expected students to call me. So there were so many students who are living in abroad, and from US, from UK, from Singapore, from Australia. So these students were kind of reaching out to me for the free sessions. And the one concern that these students had was that they were living alone in that city. And most of the people in the hostel, most of the students were in the hostel. And they were really scared. If the lockdown extends, what will happen, how will they come back home? They were worried about their parents, their grandparents, and how what if something happens to them. So these were some of the thoughts that were bothering the students. And also their fear, they were having these online lectures happening. However, they weren't able to focus on the online lectures because they were used to a classroom setup, and now sitting at home and doing this online learning, and working on their assignments online, and doing all the projects online. It was a tough transition. I think this phase is all about this is a transitional phase for students. And we need to prepare them for this transitional phase. They were also not prepared for this. So I think the best thing right now to do for them is to prepare them for the transitional phase. And they are facing a lot of emotional challenges, especially anxiety, overthinking, and the social media. Yes, that is also one more thing. Now that they are not going outside anywhere, they are at home, they are continuously on their mobiles, on their tabs or laptops. So a lot of social media influence is also happening, a lot of information consumption is also happening. And I think because of that, the stress levels and anxiety levels are also increasing for them. Yeah. So that's what is happening as of now.
Okay.
Over
So,
to you.
before,
Yeah.
yeah. So, before coming for this session today, I was also
Hmm.
reading something about the mental and the emotional health, and did some research from my part, because it is always, when you are meeting an expert, so you would want to make the maximum out of it. So I would want to ask you one question specifically. While reading through, I understand that there are three parts of the mental and emotional health of a student. So can you throw
Hmm.
some light on this aspect, or do you think that whatever I have read and this question that is coming from my side, is it a genuine question?
Hmm. Okay. So uh, uh, I'm not aware of three parts of the mental and emotional health of students. However, if you ask me, there are three parts of health. So the health comes in as the physical health of not only students, about everybody. So there is this physical health, then there is your mental and emotional health, and there is your social health. So these are the different three different areas of your health. And if you're specifically asking about mental and emotional health, in the last 7 years of my practice with students, and with the psychological tools that I have learned, I believe that the first challenge is the conditioning. So the conditioning that comes from childhood for children. The second thing is the trauma. If they have faced any trauma in childhood, or if they are currently facing any trauma, any traumatic experiences if they've had in their life, that also affects their emotional health. Then there are these unmet emotional needs. Now, as a child, maybe the student grew up in an environment wherein the parent or the guardian or the caretaker wasn't able to provide the emotional needs of the child, the emotional needs of safety, security, love, care, acceptance. So all these kind of emotional needs, and if they are unmet, that could be a little challenging for students as they are growing up. So they kind of keep wanting these emotions, and the need has not been met when they were a child. So now as they are growing up, especially in the teenage phase, this comes out as a lot of emotional outbursts. So I think working on that is very important, and also their beliefs. So with the conditioning, their beliefs are also formed. And especially again the teenagers, and the ones who are like 13 and above, so there are these certain beliefs that are forming in them. So I think that is also an area which needs to be taken care of. And one more area that I think is the self talk. Now the self talk affects a lot. So students have this self talk going on. In fact, we all have this self talk going on within us, that what might happen, what will happen, how will I handle this. So especially for students, it is, I think, a little bit intensified, because they have a lot of voices around them, their parents, their teachers, their peer group, and then their own internal talk. So I think this kind of is amplified for students, the self talk. Yes.
Right. So, I also wanted to ask you one thing. We are receiving some questions from the audiences also, so which I am going to take at a later stage. But right now, I'll, put forward my questions. Do you think that the schools can be instrumental in tackling the issue of mental health with respect to the students? Or what initiative a school can do to take care of any such mental health issues of the students?
So schools can really help students at this point of time, and the easiest way they could do this is by introducing a mindfulness practice in the school. So they could actually, before beginning the lectures, so now many schools and colleges have opted for online learning. So I think when before the online learning starts, or before the lecture starts, a little bit of mindfulness practice, a little bit of breath work practice, even guided meditation of 5 to 10 minutes will really help students to actually center themselves, calm themselves, keep themselves grounded, and then begin the academics, and then begin the studies. I think that will be really helpful. Also, if schools could download books related to neuroscience or psychology, and if they could give some free reading material to students to understand their own brain, I think that will be also helpful, because during such situations, during moments of flight or fight response or survival instincts, how do we respond to such situations? How do we build a powerful mindset for ourselves is very important. So I think schools could focus on that right now, on building a powerful, flexible, and resilient mindset. So that will be really helpful right now with the
Sure.
academics that they are taking.
Sure. So I would like to ask Swati ji, Gayatri ji has been throwing some light on this particular topic. So after hearing her till now, do you have any question in mind which you would want to ask her?
Yes. How does teaching mental health in schools benefit students? Could you please throw some light on this?
Yes. See, we are in a situation, so we weren't prepared for this situation. So during such situations is where leadership actually comes out. A leader in you actually comes out during such situations. And how are leaders built? Leaders are built because of their powerful mindset. And I think when a student learns more about mental health, learns more about emotional health, what happens is a student learns to process the his or her emotion in a better way. They learn to resolve the emotional issues. They learn a healthy way to express their emotions and to also self regulate themselves. And when we have such leaders, I think that is what our future need is. We need such leaders. We need individuals who are able to take up whatever resources is available and make the best use of that. So we also need leaders who have a flexible mindset, who are open to new ideas, who are creative. And I think all of these things requires a certain amount of mental and emotional stability and self-regulation. So teaching mental and emotional health, introducing it at school level is highly beneficial for them. Yes.
I think that was a very brilliant way of presenting it, and I would 100% agree with you on the fact that it is very, very critical for the schools and the education institutions to understand the importance of such an important thing and take care of, or maybe take the initiative, right initiative, to be able to address the issues of the students, and which in long run or even in short run will create a better impact on the overall growth and the development of the child.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Swati ji, any question you would want to shoot again?
Yeah, I would also like to know how could schools promote a healthy lifestyle?
There are many ways school could do that. The number one way that I personally think is think is, why is PT, the physical education lecture, only 1 day a week? I really don't understand that. I want physical education to be there every day. And I also think that if schools have like a 30-minute in the beginning, if they have a 30-minute slot wherein they do some movement, they do some mindfulness practice, they do some journaling. Now journaling is also a powerful tool which could be introduced to students. I think above 5th 6th grade they can introduce this to students, and they can have like a set of questions, specific journaling questions which can be given to children, which could lead to solutions, which could lead to more awareness in the students. So mindfulness, journaling, and breath work, meditation, and some movement. So a mix of all these five, if they do it in the morning for 30 minutes or 35 minutes before the school begins, I think that is a very powerful thing that it sets up the entire space for them in the morning. And when children enter with that space into learning, I think they become better learners. They absorb more information. They are able to question the teachers. They are able to tap into their creativity. And I think that is very, very important for our so that kind of also instills this active learning in students rather than just being passive and taking whatever the teacher is giving. I think this 30 minutes, 35 minutes, if every day, if it is taken care of in all the schools, I think that will be really helpful for students.
Yeah, I think all these things are being discussed in the national education policy, and the new education system is being revised on these lines. Let us see how effective and how good they come up in the same, as you've mentioned, though. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, in fact, I would
I
like to,
think this also is useful for teachers, because when students are in that learning zone, teachers teachers are also in a better space to interact with the students. So I think that way it works
right.
for both.
Yeah. So, in fact, you in the initial stage, you mentioned about some identification of trauma and then finding a remedy. So, with respect to the present situation that we are facing in our country and all over the world, do you think that it can have a traumatic impact on the mind of the students who are not facing any direct impact, but are still, by just by listening to the news, just by getting to hear that this type of thing has happened, do you think that the students will have some kind of a fear when it comes to international travel? Will they have some kind of a fear when it comes to some kind of a, being a little more outward and all those things? Can you just throw some light on this?
Yes, that could happen, because the way everybody processes the information, the way everybody processes the situation is different. So I cannot generalize this, but yes, some may face such challenges. And again, children are stuck at home. So I will not say stuck at home, but are at home. And not every household is a home, is actually a safe space for them. So some children may be living in abusive environments wherein they are living with physical abuse or emotional abuse or even verbal abuse. And I think verbal abuse is something that is completely ignored. It's not spoken about much. So verbal abuse again affects a child's psyche a lot. So I think in the current situation, when parents are also in the survival mode, they may not be able to interact with the child in the same way, interact with the children in the same way. And also this physical distancing sometimes may also lead to emotional distancing. So the parent may not be emotionally available for the child. And for some children, school or college was the only place where they got that validation, they got that acceptance, they got a chance to show their talents and interact and be in a safe space. And right now that safe space is taken away from them. So yes, it could be challenging for many children out there. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah. So, just now we have received one question from the student. So, the question is that during this time, apart from, spending a lot of time with the books and spending limited time with the screen, what are the other ways they can maintain their cool and calm so that they do not face so much of impact of the present situation?
Okay. So the first thing that I would suggest to students who are watching this is to reduce the information consumption. It is very important because there is a lot of information that is coming our way through Twitter, through our social media handles, through the news report that we are watching, and again the newspaper articles that's been forwarded to us through WhatsApp and other mediums. I think it is becoming too overwhelming. So the first thing that I would suggest is to reduce the information consumption. The second thing is be very conscious of what you are watching online. So if you are spending time online, what is the content that you are watching? Who is it that you are following? It is very, very important to become mindful about your choices during these tough times, because whatever you're watching is directly influencing your psyche right now. So it is very important to choose the shows that you watch, choose the online content that you're watching. That is the second thing. The third thing is you could start off with little meditative practices and breath work. Breath work really works fabulous during tough situations. So you could search online for some breath work activities, or you could also download. I would highly recommend these two apps. One is Calm, 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 and the other is Headspace. These are two fabulous tools that I personally use. My daughter also uses. She's 13-year-old, and I think these two are fabulous tools for you to begin with your meditative practices, and also reading books on psychology, reading books on neuroscience, epigenetics. These kind of books allow you to explore your own mindset, allow you to understand more about your brain, about how your brain functions. So this will be a fabulous way to actually connect to your own self right now. Yes.
Right. So I'll be bringing in Swathi ji into the studio. Swathi ji, any question you would like to ask?
Yeah. What are the factors that influence students' mental health in the current scenario and otherwise also?
Okay, this is a deep question. There are a lot of factors that affect a student's mental health. The first thing being the environment in which they are growing up, that is their parents and the immediate environment, their caregivers, their guardians. That is the first thing that affects. The second is again the conditioning that they receive from the parents, receive from the school, the peer group. All of these things influence. And when we are talking about the current scenario and the normal scenario also, previously also, I think social media has a lot of influence for students, because I see children as young as 12, 12 or 13 on Instagram, and they are following these celebrities, they are following these comedians and stand-up art comics and all these people. So they are being influenced by a lot of content from social media. I think that also affects their mental health. And also the food habits that children have these days, about the junk food and a lot of junk aerated drinks. So that also affects the mental health. And now in the current scenario, they are not going out, so there is no fresh air. Vitamin D deficiency also comes up. So that is also an added challenge when we are at home. So that also influences the mental health. And the main thing is we are not taught in school or in colleges how to express ourselves in a healthy way. Like psychology is not a part of our curriculum. I really wish that whatever changes they are making in the education system, I really wish that they start this one subject called as psychology, like basic human psychology. If they start teaching from 7th 8th grade, I think that will be really helpful for students. That's something I wish that happens soon.
Yeah. Uh,
The,
we have received one question. I think I would want to take it because this is an important question. Most of the parents are finding answer to this question. It is very difficult to keep kids away from mobile phones and TV. So, is there a way you would want to suggest? Thank you, Bhavna ji, for asking this question.
Okay, so yes, this is a question that I keep receiving from parents. As a parent coach, I think in the last 1 month, every day I have received this question from a parent. And see, this moment right now, it is very challenging for us to wean them away from TV or from mobile. It is going to be tough for us right now, because most parents are themselves working from home. They themselves are on mobile, and they themselves are watching TV. They are on their laptops. So it's going to be a little challenging for parents to wean them away from mobile or TV. But this is something that that we could have done from many months before. Like now in my house we don't have a TV, so my daughter doesn't watch a TV. So we have just downloaded her content for her to watch on the on our laptop or on the mobile. So that is one thing that you could do. You could download stuff for them. And the second thing that you can do is you can check what they are watching. Like if you cannot control or manage the time that they are spending, at least we could manage the quality content that they are watching. So you could ensure that whatever they are watching is really useful for them. So a webinar like this, like a Facebook live like this, it is really helpful as we are talking about mental and emotional health. So if parents could kind of ensure that children are watching quality content online which would be beneficial for them, I think that will take care of it. But completely weaning them away from mobile and TV at this point of time will really not be possible. That is really challenging, because that is the only space where children are feeling this is comfortable, like this is a place which is familiar. TV or mobile is familiar to me because there's so much uncertainty happening around. This is a familiar space for me. That's how their neurology is kind of processing it right now. So instead of working only on the reduction of time, focus on the quality content. Yes, that is something that I would suggest.
Right. So, in fact, we have received a lot of comments. I'll just they are appreciating the topic. They are looking forward to the complete session, and some are saying that this is a need for the hour session, and also, some people are certainly mentioning that handling the students is quite difficult during this time. And when you have answered this question, we have received a response from Bhavna ji. Thanks a lot, and we'll try to work on it. So that is an acknowledgement to your answer also. And then we have received a lot of this thing. We have received one question. I think it's a
Hmm.
long one, but I'll just try and read it. So
Sure,
it's a
sure.
question from Divya. I have been reading a lot of psychological content, scientific content as well. My personal experience has been such that I have been understanding everything, but the other side, such things happening around makes a corner in the brain. Even if I engage myself in a lot of activities, that corner is always active. How do you think one can put himself or herself off from that? So I think she is trying to ask the same question which I was asking you, that the present situation which we are seeing at the moment, and so will it have a permanent impact on the mind of the kids? And even if they are able to divert their thinking by thinking something positive, but at the back of the mind, I will not. I will be very candid in saying this, that even every day, every hour, or maybe every 2 hours, I also think, are the numbers in Delhi increasing? Are the numbers in India increasing? Or is there is there is a downtrend? What is a trend? So at the back of our mind, at the end of the day, everybody is thinking that. So what is
Mhm.
a way to counter that situation?
Okay. So one thing is when we are responding to trauma like this is actually normal. There is nothing wrong in thinking like that. But what are we doing about the thinking is very important. So one journaling activity that I would highly recommend is you could try doing that is when such thoughts come, you immediately take a pen and a paper and you immediately write it down. And the second thing what you could do there is ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? I repeat the question, how am I feeling right now? So if right now I'm feeling lonely, I can write I'm feeling lonely. Okay. And then the second question to ask yourself is, how do I want to feel instead? I repeat, how do I want to feel instead? And when I ask myself, how do I want to feel instead? I was feeling lonely earlier, right? So now when I want to feel different, I want to feel connection. So this is the feeling that I want to feel because I am feeling lonely. So then the third question is, what is the one action I could take right now? Like right now, or not like tomorrow or day after. Like right now to feel connection. Okay, so these are the three questions. One is, how am I feeling right now? The second question is, how do I want to feel instead? And the third question is, what is the one action that I can take immediately? So when I wanted to feel connection, the one action that I could personally take is to call my parents or call my sister, call my friends, and do a video chat with them. So that kind of allows me to have connection. And connection being my main value, connection being my main emotional need, that's the reason why I started the 30-minute free consultation, because that allows me to stay connected with my community. Because as everything was closed down, I was not doing any workshops, any events. The immediate thing that struck me was, oh, my need for connection is lost, because I'm not going to go out and meet people. So how do I connect? So the one action that I could take immediately was to do something for connection, and that was setting up the 30-minute free consultation call. And I started doing that. And in the last 45, 42, 43 days, I think I've spoken with more than 150 people around the world. So it's been a fabulous and grounding experience for me. So these three questions can, and
Right.
ask
I
these
think
questions many times a day, because in the entire day you may face a lot of emotional things. Like sometimes you may feel happy, sometimes you may feel grateful, sometimes you may sense fear, insecurity. So now it's going to keep on happening. And what I would personally suggest is, after all this ends, if possible, go to a therapist or go to a counselor and just seek that emotional cleansing for yourself. It is very, very important. So if that's possible, then please do it. Yeah.
certainly, certainly. Though, the session has been very, very interesting, and the comments and the questions that we received were also very good. I would want to comment on the three questions that you have mentioned. That how I am feeling right now, how do I want to feel instead, and how or what is the one action that I can take immediately. So I think this will be a very positive way to be able to address any such situation of anxiety or uncertainty that comes across our mind. And it is all about, sometimes when we are lonely and we are thinking about things, and we are able to divert our mind to something which is more interesting or more close to our heart, and there is a possibility, 100% possibility, that even that small corner which we have made in our mind with respect to that uncertainty can also be removed. So I think with that, I would want to close the session for today. Any question or any comments you want to make, Swati ji, or anything, Gayatri ji, you want to say?
Yeah, quite an insight to us. Me being a mom of two teenage sons, also, especially the part with the how to control the TV. We had a long discussion regarding that, but it was quite an input, at least to monitor what they're watching. So that
Yes.
could at least control and quite an insight. I had a lovely session with you. Thank you, Miss Gayatri.
Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.